welcome to Retro Encounter, episode 181, where we're talking about Lufia II, Rise of the Sinistrals, part 2. Joining me today are Katherine Kortvely.
Whoop whoop!
And Zach Wilkerson.
Hey there.
And I'm your host, Leona McCallum. So, this is part 2 of our Lufia II game, and where we left off, we were left on a pretty tragic, sad note where Decker had died.
Question mark?
Question mark. Not so subtly reminded throughout the podcast he was not dead. But yes, I mean we'll talk about that when we get to it. But he's definitely
not around.
He's not around right now. We'll say that, yeah. And he had just died in a fight with Adura. And we were just left in a town, sad, but going to continue on our journey to defeat the four Sinistrals who are trying to destroy the world or impose a godlike rulership over the world.
How dare they? Why can't they just let the characters live in peace?
I know. What the hell? It's always this way with gods, you know? They're so egotistical.
Yeah. I look forward to talking about the end because their logic about the whole thing makes somewhere approaching 0 sense. So, yes.
We're going to dive deep in the motivations. So, we just have our 3 party members when you first start off. We have Solan, we have Maxim, and we have Guy. And we have no really... you're not giving a super great big hint of where to go. So you just have to kind of wander to the next village and hope that something happens there.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was because I had just not played for a while, but I genuinely had no idea where I was going when I started back up again.
Yeah, the game doesn't explicitly tell you.
Well, mainly once you get down to those 3, it's mainly you need to travel. So you have to find some means of travel, and there's a boat. So, hey, this boat looks good, but
it's not
how
good
does
enough.
It run? Yes.
And this is where... So we hear about a scientist or an inventor in a village. I think it's called Toadstool or something. I can't remember what it's called. And
that sounds right to me.
Yeah, it sounds about right. It's something like that. And there's a genius inventor, and he lives in a cave just north of town. And you go to this cave, and it is the trolliest thing in the game.
Yeah, I've had worse in the game, but it's not that bad.
It's like the game is playing a big joke on you because there's signs that say, "Oh, go through this door," and then the door will lead you to a death
I
pit.
never read those signs. I just guessed. I never read those signs.
I think you would have been better off guessing, actually.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Don't read the signs. The signs are there to trick you. Lexus is a meanie like that. He does not want to be disturbed, I don't think.
He just didn't want to be disturbed from his studies, that's all.
Mm-hmm.
But then you meet him and he seems like such a nice guy.
Yeah, he's
so
not nothing bad about him.
I mean, I like Lexus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we find Lexus in his laboratory, and he's been working on this engine, which is totally insane to the minds of our pre-industrial revolution party. It works without any wind? How?
Welcome to modern day society.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just runs on pollution.
As we discover later.
Well, yeah,
yes.
it actually becomes a plot point, which I'm greatly relieved that even in the 90s they were thinking about that.
Yeah.
It just stinks of Lexus. He's very short-lived. You don't get to have him long, but if you actually do get to fight with him, he's actually pretty good.
Yeah, I think Lexus gets one of my... he has a weapon similar to Artie where it just hits everyone.
Yes.
I got that weapon. That was really good.
His the wrenches.
Yes.
Because that's what it is. The icon is a wrench for his type of equipment he can use.
Yeah. I love that. I love the weird RPG weapons you can get on characters sometimes. I've played an RPG where someone fought with flowers, and I'm like, how?
I love the battle too. It's like needle nose pliers, going over the enemy every time you attack. I'm like, how does that work? I don't understand.
And so Lexus is willing to help us soup up our boat by giving us this engine that will let us go fast across the water, but it's going to take time. And during that time, we have to do a little side story about climbing a mountain and getting a flower.
Ooh. So exhilarating for a flower.
Yes, there's a lot of like side stories in this
I mean,
this game.
earlier we had to go to get the Phantom Tree, so I mean, a flower is not surprising now.
Yeah.
But at least there was like a reason to get the Phantom Tree. This time it's just like this lady wants this flower.
Yeah,
Now
or
we're
she will die.
She'll die because she wants it so badly. It's not even like a cure.
Gosh.
If it was a cure, it would have made sense.
Yeah.
I still remember when she was like, pretty, flower. Thanks.
I have a reason to live.
I like the part too where Solano Cass is drowsy and the kid's wondering, what did you just do to my sister?
Oh yeah, drowsy comes in clutch quite a few times in this game.
Yeah.
I never usually use drowsy. I never really use it.
Not in battle, but in
Like,
plot.
yeah.
In plot, it's used a lot.
Solana uses it like on everyone. Every time they're being annoying, she's like, "Okay, drowsy."
Okay, time for you to sleep. Shh. I wonder if she uses it on like Geros, just like shh, child. Mommy needs her rest.
Parent at its finest.
Yes. But talking about getting our boat all souped up, we actually have a name for the boat, and it's Exerion. Am I pronouncing that right? Exerion?
Exerion. I don't know the names
It
in this
almost
game.
looks like an excursion to me, but Exerion sounds fine.
Yeah. It's the best I can do.
The boat.
Yes.
Why not just call it the boat?
Well, it's a multifunctional boat because it is our mode of transportation. It is the boat, it is a submarine, it is an airship, it is a very brief point, a paraglider, and at the very end.
It's an awesome moment.
I will admit, I do love the submarine music. I love it when you go underwater. I love that music.
I have a fear of underwater. Every game where you're playing in the submarine, I'm just like, filled with fear the entire time. Final Fantasy VII in particular was bad because Emerald Weapon would just be hanging around underwater, and you could turn your camera and you'd be right in your face. And ever since then, I've been afraid of going underwater in games.
Oh no! I mean, the only underwater I get scared of is from Sonic, because that music is so mind rattling.
God.
I can't stand that drowning music.
Anxiety music and personified.
Yes.
So what do you think your favorite mode of travel is? I like the airship personally because it's not underwater.
I liked the airship, but like I wanted more of it. I feel like we had the airship for like 30 seconds before the end of the game.
Yeah.
Wish we'd have gotten it a little bit earlier. But other than that, the airship for me for sure.
Mm-hmm.
It's a toss-up because each one has its benefits. The ship lets you encounter monsters in the water, which some of the monsters do give you some of the best gold. There are some of the because the whales are fantastic.
The money whales.
The submarine, you do gain access to get one capsule monster.
Yeah.
The airship is fast travel. And then the paraglider, we only get to see for a brief moment and we're done. So I love them all. I could not pick one.
Yeah, and also shout out to the warp spell, who is basically the best mode of travel in the game.
As long as you remember what town to go to.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a list of 50 towns, and I do not remember the names of any of them. Where am I supposed to go?
Me too. I've been there.
When I had to go get that statue, the replacement, I'm like, I knew exactly who to go to.
Yes.
I could not remember for the life of me the name of the town I needed to go back to.
The Ruby Icon, yeah. I had that exact same moment. It's like, okay, let's try these 10 towns. I feel like it was in the middle of the game. We'll go for these 10 towns. My god. The submarine is definitely like a more unique and as far as video games go, sort of fun mode of travel. There's not many RPGs where you play as a submarine, I don't think.
Yeah, I can't think of many.
Just Final Fantasy VII in my brain.
I just could have used a mini map. That would have been useful.
Oh, I was going to bring that up. Yes, a mini map would be so lovely because I'm in the submarine and I pop out up in the ocean. I'm like, where am I?
I mean, there's times I'm traveling, even just on the boat is the hardest to navigate, I would say.
Uh-huh.
Because, I mean, the submarine, you only get to see the dark shadows of the land. But I've had such troubles with the boat trying to figure out what direction north, east, southwest will take me to on the map.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And I've looked at the map on like a zoomed out image, and it's actually quite a beautiful map. Really, it's quite well designed and quite unique because it's very pointy. I've noticed a lot of land
Okay.
masses are ending a big point, and it's kind of cool looking. But having these modes of travel open up some like easier optional things you can do. You can go to a casino island. It's called
Oh my
Forfeit Island.
gosh, yes.
I
Who
totally
pl-
missed that.
did you not go to
You've
Forfeit
never been to
Island?
Forfeit
Yeah.
Island?
I mean, I may have in previous playthroughs, but I totally missed it this time. Tell
Oh
me
my
about it.
gosh. It's so nice because it's a nice hodgepodge of little mini games. You can play bingo, you can play blackjack, you can play slots, and you can
Poker.
actually build up points in order to buy some more expensive equipment like the gold eyes and some really good Ikea point accessories.
Mhm.
So it's a good time. It's
Very
a
Dragon
good waste of
Quest. Okay.
time.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a waste of time, but it's like also you do get some neat stuff from it, and you get some like very expensive stuff like the bunny sword or whatever that's not as good really for how much effort you put into it.
That music though in the casino is great. It's so upbeat.
Yes.
Anyone out there, listen to that music.
So you can go to the casino, and is that where you can get the jewel sonar thing, where you can ping to see if a dungeon has unopened chests in it? Is that where you get that?
I have never gone that item. I've just always gone gun ho into dungeons and tried my best to find everything.
Oh, really? So have you ever fought the egg dragon?
Probably. It's not one of my to-do list
Uh-huh.
items if I ever play the game casually. It's never a to-do.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought maybe I know my brother. I've watched my brother do it plenty of times. But it's
Yeah.
such a cute dragon. Oh my gosh, he takes up the whole screen. He's a little red thing. He looks feisty with his mouth open.
Yeah.
Oh.
And he's quite a nice guy. Once you beat him, he's just like, oh, that was fun.
Now, what item would you like?
Yeah. So
It is
yeah.
a nice thing with the egg dragon. You do get to choose which item, though, so that is
Mhm.
kind of nice.
So the whole thing with the egg dragon is through the game you'll find dragon eggs. Me, I didn't find that many dragon eggs. But you can find them, and then once you have 8, you can go to the egg dragon at the dragon shrine and exchange your 8 eggs for either, I think, 10 stat potions.
I'm seeing it's like a big variety of things.
Yeah.
So you can get anything from a sword to multiple rings to a
Mhm.
shield.
Mhm.
So just depends on what you're looking for.
I got an egg ring, which raised all my stats to 999. Which is pretty
Oh,
fun.
yes.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
But after that, he will scatter the 8 eggs again, and they will go to chests that you have already opened, and they will hide in there. So if you want more eggs, you have to go to more dungeons. But using the jewel sonar thing, I can't remember what it's called, you can use it, and it will give you a little ping if there's any unopened chest in this particular dungeon. And that's how you can quickly figure out if this dungeon is worth checking for more eggs.
As you can tell, I've never really ventured to find that. Or
Oh my god, I'm
needed
teaching
it.
Cat stuff about Lufia II. I am the master now.
Thanks.
That's an intense form of completion.
Oh yeah, it's
Oh, yeah.
super.
I dig
You have to, and not only you don't to fight the egg dragon, you have to do that 3 times, 4 times.
4 times the max, I believe.
Yeah, 4 times. So yeah, and the egg dragon is the toughest boss in the game. I did not do it, but I did watch it on YouTube.
Save it for another day to try.
Yeah, I feel like that would take me a long, long time. Is there any other optional things that open up once you get Ixerion? I mean, you can do the ancient cave, but you've been able to do that for a while now.
Yeah.
I think that there's one capsule monster you can get when you get the ship, and I think that's it when you first get the ship. Other than that I remember.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's next to a town. I remember it's like one of those underground things, and then eventually you need a submarine to go into plot with the game as well.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can go to Dunkirk, which is very similar to a town near me, which is called Dunkirk.
Oh, now we know where we got the inspiration from.
If only
Just
it was,
change one vowel around; they'll never
Yeah.
know.
if only it was like bagpipe music or something, I'd be like, I'm home.
Um,
And yeah, so after that you can do some plot stuff. I think once you're doing Dunkirk is find. You you have to get a ruby icon because it's a prince from a foreign land who's come to this kingdom to marry the princess, and as a peace treaty between their two lands, very Romeo and Juliet, they're offering a ruby icon. But while he's there, it gets stolen, and he doesn't know what to do. But we just happen to know someone who is very good at creating imitation ruby items. And
Good old Jaffe.
Jaffe. He came in clutch. It's really about who you know in the world, you know?
Gotta make those connections out there.
Yeah.
Did you guys notice that the like around the castle there were what are the name of the two thieves again? Birdie and
Bart and Birdie.
Bart and Birdie. They were like around the castle, and they're like, "What? Why are you talking to us?" It's like this idea that you like would be walking around trying to figure out what's going on there, and then the two thieves were there. That was a funny touch.
Oh my god, I never noticed that. That's so cute. I love that. Attention
it was funny.
to detail. And after Dunkirk, you can go to the next kingdom over, which is another sort of side quest where it's another prince and another it's a princess who has a suitor lined up, but she doesn't seem interested at all in him, and she's set a task for this prince to go to this tower in the west of the kingdom and go to the very top and bring back this precious gem that's up there that she lost.
Man, girls don't ask for a lot in this game.
Yeah.
It's a stone, man.
It really is just a game of the royalty and their immense ineptitude. Every kingdom you go, the royalties are not on top of things at all.
Nope.
But what happens of note up at the top of this tower is we meet Amon, who is the second Sinistral that we fight. Well, the second Sinistral that we come in contact
Encounter.
with. Yes.
Well, more encounter. Well,
Yes.
I mean, you would technically, it'd be like second and third if you know what I'm getting the drift of, because technically we've already met one, but
Yes.
that's coming up.
So what do we think about Amon? He is I don't remember what he's the Sinistral of. Is it Chaos or something like that?
Chaos sounds right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, not a lot of personality there. Just
No.
like, everything's the worst, and I'm going to destroy everything, and you guys suck. And that's basically it. So, kind of like Gades 2.0.
Yeah. Like me as a teenager.
Well, my take on Amon is his sprite has green hair. You go into battle, he has silver hair. What on earth? Come on.
Colorblind, I couldn't tell.
That's it.
That was my only thing. The sprites don't match the characters when they go big. Well, most of them don't match.
Yeah, what's with that? It must just be a palette thing, you know? They've only got a limited amount of colours in the overworld or something, because a lot of the sprites are very different from what they look like in battle. But yeah, there's not a lot to say about Amon. He is a bad guy, and he likes to destroy things. And
He's just in the line of the bad guys you have to face. I mean,
he's just like a tougher Gades, really.
Right.
Yeah.
He even does what Gades does and destroys a whole village, and we go there. And we have a very sort of touching scene, I thought, with all the dead bodies and taking the time to bury the bodies, and Iris is there, and she does a little prayer for them.
I'm going to just mention something that I always thought was silly in the game. There's a lot of bodies, but I think there's only like 4 or 3 gravestones, so they just like stacked those bodies or something.
Oh, mass graves.
That's dark, man.
It's really dark.
I know! I wondered about that. I'm sorry. I just always wondered why that was.
I mean, they're only 4 people. I mean, you can't build that many graves, I guess. The world's coming to an end. Time's limited.
And it's morbid too, because you try to talk to any of them and they don't respond.
No, you don't even get a little, they're breathing softly. No, they're dead. They are dead.
Yeah. It changes the direction of your sprite, and that's it. I was like, oh, okay, well.
The next part I remember we encounter is Artea, or Artie.
Artie!
As you're right, it does shorten it to Artie, so I'm guessing his name
In the
is
gaming
Artie.
menu, when you have the characters, it just spells it as RTARTY.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I've always just called him Artie from the beginning.
Yes. And we meet him. He is an elf in the elf village, and he is well. He has lost. Is his girlfriend? Is Karen his girlfriend?
I've always questioned about that. I can't say.
It's not conclusive.
Yeah, no.
It's not conclusive. I don't think Milka is his kid.
Milk is too young. Way too young.
Yeah. And also the brand of a chocolate bar here in Europe.
Ah!
So, because I laughed, there's a line where like, "Oh, someone took my Milka," and I'm like, "Oh, those evil people taking your chocolate bar." Yeah. So we learn from Iris that the Sinistrals are energy, basically. They're personified energy, and Maxim is full of energy, and Solan is full of energy. So there's like this. They're very powerful energy beings, but you need to amplify. They want to amplify their own energy for even more power, and there's a shrine nearby where you can do that. I think the elves guard it or whatever. And Karen is there, has been kidnapped by Amon.
Mm-hmm.
And I think she said she'd done this, she just let him kidnap him because it would just destroy the elf village if she didn't cooperate anyway.
Yes.
So that was smart of her.
But it gets sad too because she actually sacrifices herself so that way Amon can't do that. But then,
yeah, she kicks Amon's ass. Solo.
Artie gets all revved up and he's like, you know what? I'm going to join your party. I'm going to get vengeance and everything. Here I am.
Yeah. And Lexus leaves the party and vows to Milka to end the pollution that the lab is creating. You know, that all the flowers are disappearing, and that's why the elves and the humans are not getting along so well, is because all the pollution is destroying the environment. And very Ferngully. So that's when we lose Lexus and we get Artie, and this is our final party. This is the party that we have until the very end.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's fun too because if you play the first one, you're like sort of waiting for like these party members to sort of show up because you know what the final party looks like, and you actually meet Artie in the first one, and he's the one who sort of sends you on your quest for the dual blade. So like it's because he's an elf, and I think he's actually in like the third one as well, which I have not played. I've heard it's very bad. Yeah, so Artie's it's a cool moment if you had played the first one to sort of see this character who you had met before sort of come back. And Guy is actually in the first one as well, but he's like 100 years old just because like he eats well or something. I don't know.
Oh, really?
But yeah, yeah. So it's a cool moment at the first one.
Oh, that's cool. So what do we think about Artie? He suffers from being...
You need him. Oh my gosh, he makes life so much more easy in the game.
Oh, he's very good.
His light spells really, especially in some of those end game I mean, and against all the Sinistrals, they're all weak to light. So I mean, I'm just like spamming those spells over and over again to take them down. But yeah, I remember sort of being unimpressed by Artie like years ago, but I think I didn't understand elemental weaknesses well enough.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh, you do the most damage by far at the end of the game, except for the dual blade.
Yeah, he's very, very useful in battle. That's for sure. Because he also has the Artie bow, which also hits everyone, and I used that right until the very end. Even though there was stronger weapons, just having a hit all in it, like attack, just was made random encounters so much easier. What about his personality? As I was saying before, I think he suffers from like being the last party member syndrome, where it's near the end of the game, you don't get as much time with him as the other people, but he does have some personality traits. I think he has quite a dry sense of humor. He's quite shady, I think, towards some of the party members, like especially Guy. He has a few comments about.
I think overall, Artie is a great way to balance out the end game, because he is essential for, as we mentioned, his light attacks, but then also to his personality. He cares for his village.
Yes.
So eventually maybe peace can happen once again for the humans and elves. So that's why he travels with the Solan Maximum guy in hopes that maybe by going on this journey I can find that balance between us again.
Yeah, that's a very good way of putting it.
Yeah.
So yeah, Artie is just a great all round addition to the party, and as I said, this is our final party until the end now. So the next big moment that happens is, well, not a big moment, but it's a moment I would like to talk about, is where you meet Iris, and she is unreasonably questioning Solan and Maxim's love.
Mm-hmm.
And
Solan gets all pissed about it.
I would too.
Oh my gosh, we're talking about the mirror, right?
The mirror, yes. I want to talk about the mirror section of the game. And Iris basically says, well, prove it to me. Prove me how much you love each other. And Solan's like, fine, I will.
I want you to climb this tower and look in the mirror.
Okay. If you look in the mirror, you'll see something. I don't know what we were supposed to see in the mirror, but we definitely...
I think it's a question of whether like they're reflected in or not. So like if they are reflected in the mirror, then they are like truly in love, and it shows like their true form or something.
Yes, I think it was supposed to be.
And it's actually cool because they decide that they're not going to do it. They say like, well, we don't need to look in the mirror to know we love each other. But if you watch right before the battle there, and they're backing up, you see both of them show up. So
yes,
cool
I love that part.
That's exactly why I wanted to talk about this part. It's such a subtle, clever detail that the game, as they are backing up, they've decided, they're not going to look in the mirror, but then one of the party members bursts into the room and says there's monsters attacking, and they back up a little, and you see their backs turned to the mirror, but they're both reflected there. So they never know that they are truly in love, but we know, and as we saw it, and then the mirror breaks, so they could never find out anyway. But it was such a clever, well-written moment, I thought. I really loved that part.
And then from that, Iris, when she appears, you see a different side of her and then questions what's going on.
So Iris shows up and she repairs the mirror with her magic. And her reflection back is Aram.
Also, Lufia. If you guys haven't played the first one, Lufia is actually like Aram in disguise in the first game. So I'm curious, did you guys realize that it was Aram like as soon as you saw her in the mirror, or not?
I did, because as I was booting up my playthrough for that particular day, I watched the little opening cinematic where Aram is talking to Deos, and she's like, I will go down and whatever. So like I recognized the sprite. But I think I said in the last podcast that I thought she might have been Solan's mother.
You did, yes.
Yes, and Kat was like, oh, yes, Leona, sure.
Yeah.
But no, she's definitely not Solan's mother. She is the third Sinistral. She is Aram, the mistress of death.
AKA Big Nose.
Oh, her nose is so big.
I'm sorry.
She doesn't need a sword. She has her own sword built in.
I mean, it is a big sprite.
When you go into battle and see her in her true person form, oh my gosh, you'll understand the Big Nose reference 100%.
Some sort of questionable decision was made to make her nose that big, but she is very what do you think her motivations were for helping the party along all this time? Because she doesn't quite know herself, she says, why she did it. Why do you guys think she helped the party despite being a Sinistral?
I think there could have just been some goodness in her, maybe some slightness about how she was able to switch between herself and Iris. So I think potentially there was some good in her that wanted to lead everybody to their purpose of being on this adventure. But in the end, she's still a baddie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the motivations don't really make any sense unless, again, you've played the first one, because actually she is Lufia in the first game, and she's like a childhood friend of the descendant of Maxim, and she's sort of like in hiding, And so you play as her the whole time, and she's actually the one who sort of saves the day at the end of Lufia 1 as well by sort of like going back to her human form. And so I think it's this idea that she is the most pulled towards humans, but it doesn't really make a lot of sense. She's like, well, I don't really know why I helped you, and this was a test.
Yeah.
But Deus doesn't seem to agree that it was a test. I don't think that he was testing anything.
No, I think he just wanted
that's
to
just
roll
like
it on.
her own like individual thing that she wanted to do. But yeah, I think that it makes a little more sense if you played the first one, but even then, it still doesn't make much sense.
Yeah. I have not played the first one, sadly, so...
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to get on that.
Yeah. I've not played any of the Game Boy Color games or anything. Lufia 2 is all I've played of the Lufia series. I think
it's the only one that's really worth playing, if I'm being honest. So yeah. Lufia 1's okay, but yeah.
But if you want to go...
It's just a worse version of this game.
Yeah, if you want to go to the plot. I don't know. I kind of had my own maybe theory about the gods and the pantheon in this world, because they're kind of talk about another god, Arek, at some point. I don't know if he appears in another game or something, but I was wondering if this is a sort of I think also the Japanese translation translates the Sinistrals as the mad gods. So I wonder if they were originally the opposite of what they are claiming to be. So maybe Erem is really the god of life, and maybe Amon is the god of order, or something, or opposite of what they say they are. They're maybe fallen, or the opposite of what they are, two-faced gods maybe. But you're really giving no incentive to believe any theories at all.
When you mentioned the two faces, it made me think of the Sprite versus the battle scene version. So is that the two faces we're talking about?
That is the truest two-faced. But yeah, so she is the most, she is Iris all along, and she is definitely the most fleshed out of the Sinistrals. So, and she's also pretty tough in a battle. She's pretty tough, I thought, because she has instant death attacks. And those are always rough.
Oh yes.
Speaking of instant death attacks, there's an enemy in this game.
Oh no!
I knew this was coming up. I knew want to experience them.
Yes.
You will never want to.
Yes, but I have to apologize to Kat for, in my brain, last podcast, she was talking about assassins. And I was like, what's an assassin? Is she mispronouncing assassin? Don't correct her, Leona. It may be a speech impediment thing. I just in my mind I'm going, I shouldn't question it. But no, they're literally in the text called assassins. Assassins.
Exactly. That's why it's I can say assassin, no problem. But these are called
the important question is, what translator decided that was an appropriate thing to call the enemy?
It's some of the monsters have bad translations. If you look up some of them, they are not what they're supposed to be in there at all.
Is it just a typo? I don't understand.
I don't know. I've never.
It's so weird.
It is weird because I think there's an enemy quite clearly that looks like a lich, but he's called a leech.
I didn't even notice that.
Yes.
But yeah, with their double movements plus their 1 KO attacks, they're just as worse as ninjas. Ninjas are the exact same sprite, but blackened in color.
Yep.
But they can have twice the attacks to TKO your party members, and it sucks.
Yeah,
that is an ancient cave killer. You run into them, you will probably be done.
Oh my gosh, they have those in the ancient cave. Oh,
yes, they have the ninjas and the assassins.
Oh no.
So yeah, I just had to give them a shout out for just how evil they are in the dungeon. They move twice for every one step you take. Yes. They're just impossible.
They're relentless. They want to kill you.
Yes. They're tougher than any dragon enemy in the game or whatever. So leading up to the end of the game, we have to get the dual blade. The dual blade is a sword that will amplify Maxim's power enough to be able to fight against the Sinistrals, and it's part of a set of items. I think it's like a set of equipment.
Yes, where we have to escort these sisters to the top of these towers in order for us to get it.
Yes.
But let's not forget we have to visit the mermaids first.
See the mermaids under the sea.
And we have the dragon mountain before that. Oh no.
Yeah. We'll talk about the mermaids rather than the dragon mountain.
Let's do that.
The mermaids. I thought it was very cool. Just honestly, their little city under the water for a SNES game. I thought they were quite cool.
It was just rather short.
It was very short.
That's why it's hard for me to incorporate the mermaids, because you didn't do too much. You did
Yeah.
just enough to be like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm just using them because they introduced Deos, the final Sinistrals, so that's basically why I'm talking about them.
Got it.
So yeah, the mermaids. There's a queen mermaid, and her daughter is gone missing. I think it is, or she's stuck somewhere. So you go to where the daughter is stuck, and you save her, and then Deos appears, and he kills quite a few mermaids,
How
and
dare he?
has a little speech, and then goes away.
This could be you.
Yes. Bye bye. But yeah, so this is where we see Deos for the first time, who is I'd say that he's the leader of the Sinistrals, the most powerful one. What do we think about Deos?
For an end boss, I can dig him. It's a good challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Aram's harder and more interesting.
I think Aram's harder as well.
Yeah.
I thought he was a bit of a lame duck for a final boss, to be honest.
Yeah. I didn't think any of the 4 of them were all that difficult.
No, I was about to say that.
With all the miracles they're dropping on you at the end there, you get like 50 of them. So I guess we'll get there, but yeah.
It's like we've got to make Lufia 1 happen somehow. You've got to beat them.
Yeah.
I guess that's what it is. It's just, even though they're pretty much just high HP monster bosses at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. And Deos, he's the last one we meet, so he doesn't have a lot of screen time or anything, so he is very much just a boss that you beat. He does call us a hoochie, which I don't know what that is. What's a hoochie?
I guess it depends on how you translate it, depending on region or place of the world.
It was definitely the you spoony bard of Lufia II. But yes, once we collect all the legendary equipment from the top of these towers, we place strategically a woman at the top of each tower.
I don't know what that's about, but yes.
They're triplets too.
Yeah. And they're holding like Doom Island in place or something, so we can go up to Doom Island and fight the Sinistrals, and this is the end game now. These 4 battles, one after the other, and once you beat Deos, we have our very bittersweet ending where Artie and Guy get separated from Maxim and Solan, and they escape Doom Island, but Maxim and Solan are still on there, and Iris appears before Maxim as Aaron, and is like, oh, there's nothing I can do. You're gonna die. Doom Island's gonna crash, and Maxim has a little begging moment, just like, please help us, and touches her heart, I think, to somewhere where Iris comes out again, and she
says, "It's against my nature, but you say one thing. No, never mind. I'll help you now."
There's no way to stop it. Actually, now that I've thought about it, there's one way.
That's with Aaron. That's why I think there was just some good in her. She was maybe 99% evil, but there's that 1% that still speaks to her.
Yeah, her time just as the human Iris, I think, maybe changed her a bit compared to the others. But why she did that in the first place, no one really can know. But you have to, as Maxim, go to the sort of crystals that are powering the floating island and destroy them.
With those crystals, I'm actually really glad it wasn't just like another boss fight and you're just Maximum for somehow. I'm glad you just have to go to these crystals and be like, okay, dead. Like, you didn't have to battle them. Because I know there's like some end game stuff where you can run into encounters and you have to fight something. So I was really glad that the end game, it didn't have a timer. You just had to get this done.
Yeah. Maxim uses his last of his energy for each one. He has to use all his sort of energy that they talk about in the game to destroy these crystals. And at the last one, Solan appears before him in a ghostly form. She has passed away. She passed away because she suffered damage from the fight earlier. And then, using the last of his power, Maxim also dies.
Aw.
And yeah, and the epilogue is you watching their two ghosts fly from town to town, seeing how the rest of the people you met across the way turned out.
Mm-hmm. It's nice. It's a nice bittersweet ending. I
Yeah.
really appreciated how it tied in like that.
I thought it was a really well done ending. To be honest, it brought a little tear to my eye.
Oh yeah.
Like,
I can't remember if I cried or not. I
Yeah.
really can't remember.
I
Yeah.
can because it happened a week ago.
It's okay, Zach.
I mean, I think that I really love the moment too because, again, and I hate to keep bringing up the first one, but it frames the story so much for me. There's like that moment right before they go up to Doom Island where they're talking, and it's like, and Maxim's like, "You can't go, Salon," and she's like, "What? Yes, I can.
Yes.
Like, we're gonna do this together." And I think it's a really sweet moment between them, and like it sort of elevates the tragedy of it. And then, yeah, I think it's really beautiful, and it's not really a common thing that you would have seen in games in the 90s for the two main characters to die, even though you know it's coming. It has to happen because I think it's really a beautiful moment.
Well, that's why one of the like things at the end game during the credits and the scenes, you get that thing where it says "to be continued" in Lufia 1.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So it kind of tells you, it's like, hey, you want to find out more, you gotta actually go back. But it can lead to more details as Zach knows more about the connections between the characters.
Yeah.
But also one of the nice things too within the end game, you actually can see how many times your party members have died. So I think that's a rather cool thing you can see.
Yes, that happens at the very end.
What also goes over your playtime and little tidbits on that, how many characters, monsters you defeated, times that you've had to open up chests like reds and blues. They'll tell you how many you've opened. So it's just kind of a nice little summary of your adventure if you can go through all the credits at the end.
Yeah, that's right. I want to go back and talk about individually the little epilogue scenes for each character before we wrap up the podcast. So we see, I think we see first is Artie. Is that who we see first? When Maxim and Solana are in their ghost form, and we see Artie talking to Milka, and he's talking about this party that Guy is going to be having. My friends are dead. Let's party.
They only saved the world. Let's celebrate.
To be fair, I don't know if they know they're dead yet. I think this is pre-knowing they're dead.
I think so too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh wait, I can't believe we never talked about like Deckard.
Decker.
Decker lived by the
The
end.
entrance of Decker.
Yeah, just before
How
the fight
you
at Doom
ride-
Island, he comes back.
he's so manly. He rides in on a whale.
Oh my
Come
God.
on.
He has
Give
the
man some credits.
coolest entrance. It's like,
Yes.
oh no, the town's been attacked by monsters very randomly. And he's like, hang on, I've got this. Comes in on a wave, kills all the monsters, and then it's just like, hey, I'm back for the epilogue. And so yeah, Decker
It would have been nice if you could have switched your party members around to have him, but no.
Would you take out Guy for him? Is that how you're implying?
I don't know who I would switch out. I mean,
Yeah.
Literally anyone. I just want Decker.
Oh, okay. So Decker for life.
So yeah, it is nice that he does come back alive. So that is a nice little attribute. Before we go into Doom Island, we do get to see that scene where Dakar is safe and sound and just doing what he does best.
Yeah, I was so happy.
Now you understand why there's question mark
I mean,
during our podcast.
Yes, I mean it wasn't subtle. It wasn't subtle. But yeah, going back to the epilogue. So mostly it's everyone sort of talking about their lives and what talking about Guy talking about his party, but also we visit Kat's favorite character. We see her again.
Where is she?
She's crying about Maxim because again she doesn't have anything else.
Oh my God, she is. She's crying again. We see Tia one last time. She's the last person I think we see in the epilogue. Well, the second last person, and it's she has a tear in her eye. She doesn't quite know why, but we know it's because Maxim is dead.
She told Dakar she wasn't going to cry anymore. She went against her word.
I'll admit that I actually thought it was kind of a sweet moment.
Yeah, I liked it. I don't have the hatred of Tia that Kat does.
It's not a hate, it's a dislike. I can't hate it. It's just a dislike, a severe dislike.
To her, I mean, I think she's moving on. She seems to have a girlfriend now. You know, that blonde lady comes out of her shop and comforts her. So I think she's got something going for her, at least, now that Maxim's dead. But the last epilogue scene we see is Maxim Solan over Parasite, or Parasite, or whatever it's called. And you see...
You call it parasite, I call it particle, and what does Zach call it?
Parcelite?
Perfect. There we go.
You call it the correct name. So they're over that, and they see Jeros, and Jeros is saying, Mama, Mama. So he knows Solan's there. Maxim is furious because he's not saying Dada. I assume that's in my mind. But yeah, so little Jeros somehow knows his parents are nearby, and that's where the game ends. It's just their little floating red and blue particle intertwined above the town, and that's the end of Lufia II.
Woo!
How touching!
Totally worth it.
Yes. So, how do we feel about our journey playing Lufia II for the podcast? Let's start with Zach. What was your experience before, and how do you feel now?
I mean, like I said, I think at the beginning of the first podcast, back in like '96 when this came out, this was probably my favorite RPG for a couple of years. I think I just really loved the connection between Maxim and Solan, and especially having played the first one, I thought it filled in really nice gaps there. And I just loved the story back then. But playing it now, I think the things that stick out to me are just like how quickly it moves. I love how quickly you move through the dungeons, and given how much time you spend in dungeons, it's amazing how it doesn't feel repetitive. And it always feels like there's like this one other thing you might have missed, but it also doesn't feel unfair. Except for maybe one puzzle, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a moment here. But yeah, I just love the way it moves. I think the combat system is really snappy. So I don't like it as much as I did then, but it's a great 16-bitter.
It's back then it was like very amazing, but we've played a lot of JRPGs since then, and things don't always seem as good as they were, but I think it's still a very solid game, definitely.
Yes.
What about you, Kat? Do you love it just as much in your 51st playthrough as you did the 50 times before?
Of course. Well, the gameplay, I guess I love the characters. Each character has their own development, whether it be for the good, the bad, it doesn't matter. Everyone's very well rounded. It has that humor. It has a little bit of everything you could want. It has the action, the romance, the tragedies, the suspense. It's a game with everything you could want in an RPG for its time, along with extra side quests, side missions. So even though you can defeat the game main story, you still have so much potential that can keep you coming back for more, whether it be the egg dragon or completing the ancient cave or evolving your capsule monsters to their master classes. Even the graphics themselves, being in the SNES era, it still can hold up to its time. I can always come back to it. I can always pop it in and be like, hey, I think I know what I'm doing for 99% of it, but maybe there's something I'm forgetting, just like that Stone Detect thing that Star mentioned that I never really got into. So it's just knowing that the game has aged very well.
Yes.
Even this is like I would recommend as a top 10 SNES RPG. Like if you have the money, please get it. Please play it. It's beautiful, and you may not play it as many times as I did, but at least just get the experience once and cherish what Lufia II is all about.
Yes, I think so. I think it has aged very well, and I think the sprites the graphics are timeless in that sort of vibrant SNES way. They're definitely never going to look ugly ever. It's not a matter of graphics progressing; it's a matter of style. And this is a very stylish, good-looking game. And I would recommend this. Like, if someone's never played a SNES era RPG, play this one, because it's not got that archaic feel that a lot of RPGs back in the day had. It's very streamlined and it's very good. So yeah, my experience with Lufia 2, excellent game, loved it. I did realize halfway through that I've only played half the game when I thought I had finished this as a child, but I had not. Am I playing the ending? I thought it was lovely. Very, very good game. And I would recommend this to people, absolutely. It's a great game to play. So, now that we're all done talking, I have a little question for you guys. And that
Oh.
is in regards to puzzles in the game.
Woo!
Puzzles are a huge part of this game. Everything, in a way, is a puzzle. Moving in a dungeon is a puzzle in a way, just the way the enemies move in response to your movements. But there's also literal puzzles in every dungeon, in every room of every dungeon. So I want to ask you which two puzzles or one puzzle, whichever you're comfortable with, stick out in your mind in the game for good or bad reasons. Let's start with Kat.
Okay, I'm just gonna go to the bad. I'll go ahead
Okay.
and mention one of them.
Okay.
So in Dragon Mountain, I'm not going to talk about the one you think I am. I'm going to talk
Okay.
about the second worst one. I'm going to talk about in Dragon Mountain when you have those plants that will grow as you're moving,
Oh my
because you
God.
have to solve this puzzle in order to continue in the game. The other
That's
one's
actually the
optional.
worst one.
I
Yeah, it's the
think
worst
it
one
is.
because you have to do it. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, that's the reason. That's exactly what I was stating. You have to do this puzzle in order to progress. Kind of summarize what it is. You have 9 plants. They start off as shrubs, but each time you move, one of them grows. So you need to fire arrow those so they don't bloom. If they fully bloom, you have to restart. It automatically restarts for you.
Yes.
It is so cumbersome if you don't get the movements, because some of the movements you have to hold R or L in order to stay still and go into a certain direction to get that bush before the other one spawns.
Mhm.
So it is rather tricky. It's probably at least a good, I'd say maybe 20 steps that you have to do in a sequence in order to destroy all the plants as well. You can use bombs too, but oh my gosh, that puzzle has given me nightmares.
Yes, it's a very it's there's no room for error in that puzzle.
No.
You have to learn the movements.
I 100% cheated on it this time, and I have no idea how I had the patience for it as like a 12-year-old. I have no idea.
It's mind-boggling how just something so simple of a concept can just infuriate you internally like that. Even though, yeah, I could have mentioned the worst puzzle in the game, I had to give the credit to the plant one because you have to defeat it in order to progress. The other one is optional.
So what's your other one then?
Okay, I went with the bad. I'll go
Okay.
with a good puzzle.
Give me a good puzzle.
No, I'm thinking through all of them. Oh, okay. One of my favorite puzzles. I forget which tower it is, but you go up towards the top and you do a monster race.
Uh-huh.
You have to choose which monster you think is going to step on the trigger first.
Yes.
So you got to kind of entice them with your sword or with something to kind of get them closer. I've always had the best luck with the skeleton.
Yes, I use Scaly Boy as well.
So, because I think one of them teleports. You also have like the mermaid. I think it's zombie, mermaid, and skeleton, if I'm remembering of the 3. But you have to entice them to hit that trigger, because if they don't, you have to do it again until you get the right one so it can teleport you to the next portion of the dungeon. So I think that's just one of the more rather fun ones.
Yes, it's an imaginative puzzle. It's set up like, it's like they really tested the strength of their like design, their engine, like what they could do with what they had made. So the way the monsters move and the way the tiles work and all that, they really like pushed all the puzzles towards that.
It's nice too, because when you first activate it, you get the whole little like doorbell song and the ding 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 ding. So I get them all amped up and ready for it, and then they land on it, and it goes boop 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 boop. Oh, I love that puzzle.
Yeah. Like I tried to like control that with like arrows to like not let the other monsters move, and then that wasn't working. So eventually, I just like stepped on it and then just swung my sword over and over again until the right one hit first. I just quit.
So what about you, Zach? Give me your puzzle or puzzles.
So there's one in the Dragon Mountain that we already talked about. That's the worst one. There's also another one where you have to like bomb off all the bushes in like an arrow, and that takes way longer than it should have. That's not the one I'm going to talk about. The one I'm going to talk about is from the first half in terms of the bad one. It's the one with all the light colored blocks. You have to like get certain orders, like they all light up to be the same thing. That is still, to me, the hardest one in the game, and I don't enjoy it at all, and I don't know what my problem is, and it's not color blindness, which is usually what I would blame it on, because that's not what the problem here is. I just could never figure it out correctly.
It's always that bomb placement.
Yeah. It's always terrible when you can't blame your disability on something, isn't it? It's just my brain is wrong.
No, I'm actually just bad at puzzles. In terms of good ones, I can't remember. I don't remember which dungeon it's in, but there's a giant room where you have to like hook shot across and like move all these different blocks
Yes.
over and over and over again. And I just thought that was fun to kind of get the sort of spatial elements of it down. And sometimes you would fall, but it never felt like it was punishing you too badly for
Yeah.
making mistakes.
Is that the
And I
one
thought
where?
that it was. Go
Sorry.
ahead.
Is that the one where it's this one giant room? That like the whole
Yes.
cave is one giant room, and you just have to
Yeah.
hook shot your way across. Yeah, I like
Yeah.
that one as well.
I thought that one was just fun, and it didn't feel unfair, but it also felt like challenging in a way that seemed fun to me.
So I guess I'll go last, but as the good person that I am, I'll let you guys go first. And now you've both talked about ones I was going to talk about, so I have nothing to say.
Oh, come on. There's only like 100 something.
Okay, I'll think of something. So I can only talk about one that I hate, and it is the puzzle where you pick up the blocks and you have to sandwich 2 blocks between them and turn all the other colors blocks between them that color. It's very hard. There is a dungeon, and I think we talked about in the first half of the game, where I just got stuck forever. Like I tried it about 30 times before I went to YouTube and had to just give up. And there's like 4 in a row of them.
Mm-hmm.
It's so
Yep.
tough.
Those were the worst.
Well, the nice thing about the gold and red tile puzzle, it's a good like stepping into like, you think this is hard.
There's nothing nice about those puzzles, Kat. You're wrong. That was painful.
I know.
So I guess that wraps up our discussion of Lufia II. Thanks so much for talking with me, guys, for over 2 hours altogether.
Yes.
It was a blast.
Maybe even 3 hours at this point. We'll see how it goes.
Need more games that I love so I can be here more often.
You have to take that up with Mike.
Yeah, the Podfather.
Well, it depends on the polls of what gets chosen too.
Shh. There's no man behind the curtain. Shh.
I always thought there was.
We just all do this off the cuff. Everyone knows that. Okay, so I'll move into housekeeping now. Coming up on Retro Encounter next week is an episode on job systems in RPGs, as well as 2 episodes on East, Lothal Felgana in April. After that, we have an episode on mini consoles, an RPG villain episode, and a friendly competition special episode. Please rate us on your podcast service of choice, find us on social media, or send us an email at retro@rpgfan.com. So let's talk personal social medias and where we can be contacted. Zach, where can we find you?
The easiest way would be ZachW at rpgfan.com, and I'm also ZachW on Discord.
And Kat?
Through me, you can find me on Discord under Cat. How common is that? Also through Twitch, since for RPG Fan, I do stream on currently Mondays and Thursdays, so you can just watch me from twitch.tv/RPG Fan, or my personal channel when I feel like playing the games, twitch.tv/The Nerdy Cat with 2 T's.
Yeah, I will say, Kat, you always play my favorite games on your Twitch chat.
Oh my gosh, when I was doing ArcRaiser, oh my gosh, that game. I've never played it before. Oh my gosh, that is a poof.
That is a poof.
It
is.
You've heard it here.
That's how I'm going to describe every game from now on.
RPG Fan official review. Oof.
I just love streaming the games I love or discover.
You're a poet and you don't know it. You can find me at Starmongoose on Twitter and at Starmongoose on Discord server, which I moderate, and also the forums, which I also moderate. You can find a link to our Discord on the RPG Fan main page. We have some lively discussions there almost every day, so please come join us. So that's it, guys. Thanks so much for joining me on this podcast. I had a ton of fun.
Me too.
Despite the trials and tribulations of losing an entire episode, it was a great experience.
It was practice.
Yes, it's Leona's hosting abilities tested. Okay, we'll sign off now. So thanks so much. Thank you, listeners, for listening to us ramble on for about an hour. Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.